And I can tell you, like, months and months and like over 2 years of ignoring myself kind of caught up to me in a very big way. And there are people that you will hear from today on this live cast, or that you may know of, that really helped me. One is Allegra Pacheco. Allegra, without even me asking, just magically knew. I think it was my dad's second surgery. She just sent dinners for me for an entire week because she could tell in my voice that I was completely overwhelmed. I was like, feeding myself what had become actually too much, and I had stopped eating, believe it or not. I had I was so hyper focused on my dad's health and my son being okay and my business being okay that I just really backburnered myself in a big way. I would encourage anyone that's going through taking care of family members, please do not do that because it takes a pretty cumulative toll on your health long term. And it had gotten so bad for me that when I did start to eat, I couldn't eat. I was getting sick. So, I've had to hire a team of people to help me as I navigate some of, regaining my own physical health. And that comes from literally months and months and years of ignoring yourself. And I'm not blaming anyone for that because the way that I've always been is I'm 0 or 100,000 miles per hour. If you know me, you know this to be very true. And so the way that I managed that whole time or that whole chapter of my life maybe wasn't the healthiest. And I am just very blessed that the Lord's been with me through that, and that people that really love me, like my son and my fiance and my family members and all my friends, my business partner, have kind of held space for me to allow me to get back to me and do the work that I need to do. There's some other tips and techniques that I want to share with you that if you're in a very high stress situation and you feel like you can't even focus and you can't even think, there's something called emotional freedom technique, which is also called like tapping. It's a series of tapping that you put on acupuncture points throughout your body. And you use a setup statement like, I know I'm going through a really stressful time, but I know I'm going to also get through this. Could be your setup statement. And then you go through a series of tapping. And if anybody needs that, let me know. I will gladly send that video that will help you kind of navigate that. That's something that I use frequently now. And I wish I knew about these things, but they were not tools I had. Like I said, I backburnered everything. Everything that had to do with me got backburnered. So that was very helpful. I also decided to increase my level of spiritual knowledge kind of at a profound clip. And the end of December, actually before my dad passed, I started training for integrative energy therapy healing, which is a technique, it's quantum healing for the body. And I was taught by a master teacher in this, and it's been pretty profound. I went through 3 series of weekend classes and got specially advanced certified, master certified in this. So excited that I'm able to take in the time and the investment in myself to do healings that I can now do on myself and do on others. I continue to develop my connection to the Lord through prayer and Bible study, and just all the things that you need to do. I also have really kind of dug deep into the book of The Body Keeps Score. And I had resisted it. And I always feel, I want to share this with you. When you have like an internal resistance, like right off the bat, when somebody's like, oh, you should try this book, or you should read this, or you should think about this, and immediately you have resistance to it, that's the enemy trying to stop you from progress. I know this now. So when I feel internal resistance to maybe trying something that someone suggests to me and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Now I actually get curious about that. Instead of saying, well, I'm not going to do that, I actually say, yeah, maybe I should look into that. Maybe I should consider that. That's not a bad thing to consider. Other things that have helped me and my family tremendously is an amazing resource in New York State. I don't know how it works in other states, but I know for sure it works here, is hospice care that we had at the last week of Dad's life. Because we had experienced, a hospice transition, myself and all of my family members have unlimited counseling for over a year. Should we want to partake in that? It's been very helpful. And just, navigating, caring for people that you love. How do you do it in a way that not only honors them, but honors you? Because you are also very important in this equation. And one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to lose yourself in the midst of it. It's the way I felt like I needed to cope, but it wasn't necessarily the best way to manage it. And I can tell you that I wish I had done it differently. I wish I had, really thought about that and done it differently. Another thing that I wanted to talk about today is tied to hope, but a little bit more step two. Elena is talking about legacy planning for families and how brilliant my parents and my father were to have very open discussions with me and my brother about what they wanted for themselves, but also for us as a next generation and for the grandchildren, to get very specific. And I want to tell you that I think more and more people need to be comfortable with talking about their legacy plan. What do you want to have happen with your resources, your home, anything that you have? How do you want to personally be honored and remembered? Are there things that are important to you? I'd encourage you to go do that like this week. Figure out what you want your legacy plan to be and talk to your family members. The less surprise you have, the better. The more open communication you have, the better. I can tell you that my dad's attorneys have complimented my brother and I and said they've never seen anyone get through New York State probate court as fast as we had. It was because we took the time to sit down with Dad a year and a half prior and have meetings with his legal team and understand what was important to him as a grandparent that knew that he was passing. And to be able to honor that and to be able to carry forward that legacy just means so much to me. And I think just taking the time to spend as much time as you can with the people that you love, because you truly don't know how many more hours, days, times you have with them. And it's really important to just listen to the stories, just take the videos, do the recordings, take the pictures, eat the cake, take the trip, do the things. I can tell you, and I joke with my family members, my brother and my son a little bit. I didn't travel anywhere for like 3.5 years. In fact, there was a couple of events that I was scheduled to speak at or be at that I had to drop out last minute because of what I was going through with the family. And I don't regret that I had to do that. I'm actually grateful for every single second that I got with either one of my parents or with my family. But I have been on, I think, 5 trips since March, since I started to feel more like myself again. And I had kind of forgotten what it felt like to travel and to be free and to like show up for other people and do things like, this streamathon with all of you, and how much being there for others, how much it feeds me. So Elena, I think that's majority of my message.
Oh, beautiful. Just all of it. What a gift, because I think sometimes you shy away from having those discussions because it hurts, or you're afraid, or you can't imagine, or, just things like that. But the way that you can share it in how it's honoring them, and it just makes things easier. I mean, I think that it's important to open up that conversation and not be afraid of it. I mean, we're here because someone passed away, but nothing was even, put together. And that was very difficult for me.
I know.
You make decisions. You make decisions out of that emotion that you're in, and that's not even true clear thinking. It's just not. So
You want to do it when you don't have the pressure of impending death, right? You want to, my dad it was like a year and a half prior to his passing. He actually was in a good spot when he made all of his decisions and was really clear. And we didn't have like the pressure of anything. And you know what, Elena, I was so grateful he made some serious healthcare decisions that wasn't put on me and my brother because it would have been too hard. I'm going to be honest with you. How we both were feeling, I think it just would have been too hard.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that he did do those things.
Yeah.
And those are important decisions for you to make when you're clear-headed and when you're not under duress and when you can really think things through of how is this going to play out.
Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. Some might not know, but I had to make the decision to turn machines off. And, like nobody wants to have to make those. But it stays with you. And, had certain things been discussed, I mean, the outcome may not have been any different, but it's still there's no room for question because you actually know. So, so thank you for that. One of the things that I wanted to ask is, with you going through this with both of your parents over, several years, and you handled yourself with grace, with strength, even on the days that you said, I'm like barely hanging on. If we're thinking of hope today, what can you share with somebody who might be sitting angry about it all? Because that's a natural thing that happens too. But how can we give them hope if they're just really still pissed off about the whole thing? Because that can hold you back.
Yeah, it sure can hold you back. And I had my moments of anger. Like, you think, and nobody gets out of life alive, right? Like, we're all going to transition at some point. But you start to think, gosh, my parents were so good to everybody and lived such good lives and helped everybody that they could. And how can this happen to two amazing people? And you do get angry. You do get angry. I think what I held close to my heart is there is a message in this. There is a reason for this. This may have been for me to be more of an advocate for people that come across my path because I help thousands of people with their financial plans, and for me to talk more about long-term care and the importance of all the things, especially for what I saw with my mom. Like, that was like devastating. But also, like, maybe for us to learn the lesson of resilience, maybe for us to experience God's love for us and God's love for my father. And when the suffering became just unbearable and too much, God called him home. And so I think if we can think about this from that perspective, some of the anger will start to dissipate. I will tell you one thing that I did to get some of my anger out is I would go to the gym. I would go to the gym and I would work out really hard. Or if I was just really feeling just beside myself and just had to get the emotions out, Elena, I would write all those really mean feelings out, all the anger. I'm like, let me get this out. Let me mind dump this right out of the body. And I would burn that. And I was like, goodbye. Like, let me get that out of there. And then I would write, every day what I was grateful for. I tried to stay grateful. It could be something so small, like somebody brought me a coffee to the hospital and I was like, wow, that was the best thing that happened to me that day. And I could hold space for that and just be super grateful for that.
I love that. I remember hearing one time that if you woke up with only the things you thanked God for yesterday, what would you have woken up with? And, you know, I'm like, my toothbrush, you know, I mean, it's like little things. Like, are we truly grateful for all the things, all the little things? And if we only woke up with those things, what would we really wake up with today?
It would be
And
I would be my family. It
yeah,
would be my brother, his children, his wife, my niece, my nephews, my son,
yeah,
my fiance, you know, my business partner. I consider him like a brother. They would all be here. Like, because every single day I'm so grateful that I have the most amazing people in my life. I'm super, super blessed. You know, people that will show up. Like,
yeah.
if I'm really down, they just like ding dong, they're here at the door. Because they know about me that I'm not going to ask you for help.
Yeah, I know. We're those types.
Yeah.
But you are a sponsor for this year's Streamathon. So please take a minute to tell people about your business
Sure.
and how they can contact you, because I just want to
Abs-
make sure we get that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have, I have actually 4 companies, but the 2 primary companies that I co-founded with my business partner, Noah, is Breathe Capital Planning, which is a fiduciary financial planning practice. We do not believe in minimum numbers as far as minimum investments. We believe in working with all people. We have a high level of acuity in helping people come up with a comprehensive financial plan. And I said to you, Elena, yesterday, and I truly mean it, gone are the days that you can walk around with no plan. Every American needs a financial plan. So we do offer a complimentary consultation. You can go to breathecapitalplanning.com, and we have a Calendly link that you can literally any financial question that you have, even if you don't need our services, but you just want clarity on something, because I'm affiliated with Elena and because of the Streamathon and because I love to give hope to other people, you have, you know, an hour free with me and Noah. And that is worth like $500. So
Yeah, that's huge.
Take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's like, why not? I'm surely everybody's got a question that needs answered somewhere. Yeah.
That's what we're here for. I will ask you a lot of questions because in order to give you advice, I need to know all of your variables. But we have a whole hour to talk. In addition to that, Breathe Capital Consulting, which is a consulting company for small to medium-sized businesses that are actually looking to level up, go to the next level in the revenue cycle, or they're looking to succession plan, because I have a high level of experience with that. Those are things and services that we offer. We also help startups. So if a company is in a startup mode and they're wanting to take off, we help them put all the necessary things in place to take off. So those are two things. And then in addition to that, we also offer divorce coaching. I am an internationally certified divorce coach with the CDC, and that's through Insight Divorce Solutions that I'm affiliated with them. And then my business partner is a CDFA, which is a certified divorce financial analyst. So if you're experiencing divorce and you want to make sure that it's properly split, we can help you with that as well.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Like, honestly. So thank you for showing up today, for pouring into us, and just all the love and support always.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All righty, girl. Yeah, Julie, I recommend getting a hold of her, schedule that consultation. It's a why not? Why would you not take advantage of an amazing opportunity like that? BreatheCapitalPlanning.com. Check it out. So as we bring on our next guest, we are rolling around the clock. This powerhouse, okay, I want to say this woman of God that loves to play in the sandbox. I love the fact that our creative brains have like no ending, but she's a media producer, an identity strategist, and creator of the Rewire Reality Framework, helping entrepreneurs and leaders reset the thought patterns that shape their results. And I love that she has brought faith and all this other kind of smart brain stuff together. And I'll let her tell you that. Miss Raquel Soto coming into us from Chicago. Hey, beautiful. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh,
There you go.
I was just like, I can't tell. I wanted to be on mute because I wanted to hear every word that Julie had to say. I'm so happy to be part of this again this year. My first time was last year. So I'm so thrilled that I get to come back and be part of this amazing thing that you do every year.
It is so great to have you here. And I have I turned into a girlfriend from the first time that we met. But having gotten to know you better over these past couple years, I love how you just take such biblical, faith-driven words to our brain, like how you rewire all of this thinking. And so just share a little bit about that so that people just know a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to me, I'm your GPS for success. And I landed here because I tried to take my life 4 different times. And the fourth time, because I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed, I was like, okay, what is going on with me that I think this is a good idea? And at that point, I already had my 3 children who I love and I would give my life for. But ironically, I wanted to give my life away thinking that they were going to be better off. And it was really God saving me. He gave me an open vision of what would happen. And I was just, in the vision, he said, turn around, because I was about to, I was headed to jump off one of the tallest buildings in Chicago where I live. He said, if you jump, you'll be with me. But if this was going to happen to them, and when I turned around, my 3 kids, my sister, my parents were in this open vision, and they looked destroyed.
Wow.
And he said, they will never get over it. But you will be with me and you'll be fine. But you need to choose. And in that vision, I just ran toward them and I collapsed in their arms, started crying. And that I came back into my body, which was I was on the train going to work, and I had figured out how to get to the roof to jump. And I was a thoughtful jumper because I was thinking, where do I jump where I don't land on anybody else?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I need my tissues. Hold on.
So I was, it's funny because I was just in a Guinness World Record attempt, which we did in Philly. And, people hang out afterwards. And one of the gentlemen, he's like, how is your hair always on point? Which is, I've never heard anybody ever say that to me, especially a guy. So I thought it was a funny question. So I said, well, after the 4th time, I tried to cut myself and I had lost all of my hair because of the depression and stress and da. And he's like, wait, what? Because I wear a lot of hair pieces. I said, oh, yeah. And he just came and he sat next to me. He's like, what do you mean? You're just talking over that like it was nothing. And it's one of those things that platforms like this allow me to share the story. He's like, you need to share the story. Because so many of us, right? And you're one of us. We're the strong ones. We're the ones that people go to. We're the dependable ones. We're the ones that people kind of tell other things to. But then where do we go?
Yeah.
And that was a trap where I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I'm finding also, and it's just why I'm so happy that you have, gentlemen coming into Prospera who are talking about this, because there's so many men in this where they're the strong ones, they're carrying everything, but they don't have a place to go.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this gentleman, I'm sharing my story of like, well, then what happened was that I was like, okay, some light reading, go study quantum physics. And then after that was neuroscience and epigenetics. And I was like, I really wanted to understand what was happening in my mind, in my heart, in my body, that I thought I had convinced myself, right? And sometimes, like we blame the enemy, but unless there's resonance there was a wounds that were not being addressed. I was drowning under toxic positivity. Mm-hmm. And, so I would smile a lot, but nobody was really looking at my eyes. Yeah. But in that space of losing a lot of weight and looking the part and getting the raises and the bonuses and the accolades and all the awards and things, people were like, wow, you have a great life and you don't have your kids aren't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I was under so much pressure and so much stress that my body was giving me warning signals and I was not paying attention because I was still functioning. I mean, I was functioning from when I was in corporate, I was drinking like 2 pots of coffee and having 2 full 2 liters a day. I
Wow.
was really stressing out my chemicals, my internal chemicals. Of course, then I'm in a chemical imbalance and all that pressure. And, and being a mom, and I was married at the time, but I was the income producer. Saying I'm doing all these things for my family, well, my family just wanted me to show up, but I was working 60 to 70 hours, and I was also doing like the side thing to try to bring in more money, and just have to have the things for what? Because it was really eating into my mental health. And one of the things I want to make sure that for those of you who are watching is that actually nothing has gone wrong, because
I love that.
we are beautifully, wonderfully made. And that's what I found out on the other side of this, is that there is so much guilt and shame around what we're feeling. Like, oh, we should be thankful. Yes, we should. And like Dara was talking about perception, right? Perception is reality, but my perception was distorted. It's like I can never be enough. So it didn't matter that I was doing all these things. It was like, it was never enough. Being in environments where even at home, it's like, oh, you could have done this a little bit better. So it was always this, carrot that you were chasing, that I was chasing, and a lot of us do. And it's our spirit of excellence that was distorted, because we want to be good. We want to do everything well. We want to make sure that everything is has the best that it can be. And then when it's not, or we think it's not, then we end up carrying all this false sense of guilt and shame. And I was drowning underneath the weight of that.
So can I ask you a question? Because, in talking with Daryl earlier, and he said 2-time, that he had gone through this, and you said 4-time. Can you share, like, how much time span was all of that, like all of these attempts? How far apart were they? Was it all pretty sudden? Was this years of buildup? Like, can you at least just share that a little bit?
Yeah, it started a couple months after I first got married. So I was 22 at the time.
Okay.
And it went for about 20 years. So it was like, the first time, and then like a few years later, it would come back, right? Again, stuffing under toxic positivity. But I was drowning, but I was positive. But everything was going to work out.
Life is perfect. Everything's great.
We're going to, going down. And then through this process, and even more recently getting better language to explain it, is that, nothing has gone wrong. It's just, this is our brain giving us an offer. And we, especially for those who are entrepreneurs, we have a little bit of a control freak in us, which is like, for every control freak, and it's like, you shouldn't be a control freak. Oh, no, be a control freak here. This is where you can but this is why scripture then tells us, like, oh, that's why God said to capture every thought. Because no thought is innocent. And people are saying, oh, everything is done through emotion. That's not true, because the emotions, the trigger to the emotion is a thought. And so you have your thoughts, they trigger the emotions trigger action or non-action, and then round and round it goes. But when you don't deal with the trigger, and that was what I call now a grace point. So when you have a trigger, it's like this high emotional event, you get triggered. And if you don't deal with it, your brain says, okay, when I take it back to your neural pathways, which is running 95% of your actions automatically, I'm going to make that stronger. So the next time it comes up, you're just going to feel it even stronger. But it's still going to give you an offer. And so in that offer, you can decide, is this the reality I want to keep on living? Or do I want to change it? Only because it gives you an offer doesn't mean you have to take it. And so many things, again, it sounds like wisdom. It sounds like responsibility. It sounds like something that you should be considering. And that's the sneaky part. Is that, okay, what is coming up? Oh, why am I feeling that way? And if you're feeling something, like Julie was talking about, I love EFTs. I used to do them a lot when I was doing more heavily coaching. And people were like, wow, your EFTs are magical. I always come back to yours. They don't have any other language. So they're like, it's magical. But what was happening, right, is that your body needs to allow yourself to feel it through. And I wasn't allowing myself to feel it through, because then I was saying, well, no, I'm going to cast down these, wicked imaginations, and I'm just going to cast down the thought. But if it keeps on coming back, it's because there is a belief system. It's a lie that you believe And that's why it's coming back. And that's your grace point. To be able to be like, oh, wait, this is coming back. It's not always the enemy, right? There's not enough devils out there to chase us. So I was like, okay, well, this is coming back. Everybody has what we call blind spots, right? We all have lies that we believe, and it sounds like truth because they come in through genetics. It comes in through our, it's being activated through the environments that we're in. There are people who are experiencing that particular reality, and so it looks like truth. But everybody's like, I want to live my truth. Well, everybody lives their truth because everybody's living their belief system. So, like we were talking, like Julie mentioned it earlier, or maybe it wasn't Julie. It was a lady before that, and about beliefs. And I was like, what we actually all have, the belief systems we have, they're all borrowed. So you might as well borrow a good one. But those are things that I didn't understand. I thought that they were my thoughts. I thought that I created those beliefs. I was like, oh, I actually borrow them because we're always borrowing beliefs. And then it sounded like wisdom that I wasn't doing enough, because if I was doing enough, then I would have a better outcome.
Wow.
But I was already having good outcomes and I wasn't recognizing it. And I wasn't recognizing.
Does that mean like the belief, is that like where that perfectionism came, and then the working, so from the outside it all looks this great, but then not even recognizing that like you're maxed out, but you're still pushing yourself to this other borrowed belief? I mean, is that kind of the cycle of it?
It's a hamster wheel. So people are just like, there are certain personality types, like you just need to push through, and if you really wanted to do it, then you can do it. Yes and no, but that's not actually how we're created. And there's also less than 10% of the population who are actually wired to do that. Most people are not. We're not created. Most people are not created to live through that sheer force of will. So if you think about like your default mode network in your brain is default, right? Like your set point. So let's say it's 70 degrees. Well, yeah, you can hustle, you can push to try to get to the 72, but you're always going to come back to the 70. On a low day, you'll go down to 68 degrees and then you'll just pop back up and go back to your 70 because that's your set point. And not understanding that I needed to change and rewire the set point so that my automatic actions match what's in my heart. So there was this battle going between my heart and my mind all the time that I was out of, people talk about alignment, but that's when you're out of alignment, is that you are not actually in unison of self. And even if you are in unison of self, I was completely convinced in my heart and in my mind, go and jump. That was not a good alignment. You took me in alignment over some nonsense and things that were not true. So under me understanding how the brain was working, that's why God said to capture the thought, capture to do something. And when we are going through something, allowing our body, it takes up to 90 seconds for our body to dissipate that high emotional state. But after the 90 seconds, we're doing it to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if you're mad and you stay mad and you're at the 5-minute mark, well, now you're hurting your own body. Now you're in chemical chaos because your body is either going to be in chemical bliss or in chemical chaos. And then your brain is your drug dealer or your medicine man. So it's going to either.
I love that.
He's good. And people do like, oh, that person's addicted to drama. They really are. Mm-hmm. They really are. And this is why when women, they date a bunch of, not great men, and then they meet a good man, they're like, this is boring. It's not boring. You need to sit in that because you don't know what it's like to be with a good man. Yeah. And so now your brain is like, this is boring because you've been getting your dopamine hits from somebody who disrespected you.
Yeah.
And you've learned that dishonor and that disrespect and that spiciness was chemistry. And so that meant connection. No, you're actually addicted to that. So you have to teach your body to be addicted to something else. Another thing, people talk about resilience a lot. And they're like, oh, yeah, the best form of resilience is when you're going through something. No, actually delayed gratification is the best form of resilience. It teaches your brain another kind of dopamine. That when you're finishing a task, do what you say you're going to do and actually finish it. It actually helps you to build that inner resilience easier. So we have all these things about, you can go and hustle and do and work 70 and 80 hours. Well, that nearly killed me.
Yeah.
I wasn't the kind of mom that I wanted to be. And it wasn't until God was like, I want you to quit and come into full-time entrepreneurship. I thought it was about entrepreneurship. He was trying to save my body, my soul, give me back my kids, even though I would be with them, but I wasn't present.
Yeah.
Because I was overseeing over 40 offices. So when we're trying to sleep, Asia's waking up. When we're on holiday, Europe is not.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so being there, but being locked to my phone, like they're going to need me, toward the end of the month, because I was in finance. I was not present.
Yeah.
So he gave me all these things back when he called me, but it took a long time. It took a while.
Mhm.
Somebody was saying, I was seeing something on Facebook about trauma, like all this stuff with when you are burnt out. It took decades for me to get to that point. It was, thankfully, it didn't take me a decade to get out of it.
Yeah.
It took a few years though. So we have to give ourselves a break and give ourselves some grace. When we have the triggers, don't run. That's actually grace happening, saying, yeah, something's triggering you. Don't run. Look at it. What do you believe? What's the circumstance, right? What are the thoughts that you're having about? Most circumstances are neutral. Not all of them, but most of them are neutral. It is what it is. But what are the thoughts that you're taking about it? How is that thought then making you feel about it? What is the action now you want to take? And then looking at it, it's like, really, are those thoughts that you're having, are they factual? I mean, can you take them to court and they'll be like, yep, that's true. Most times it's not. Most times things are not gonna, there's a scripture about about your thoughts, think of things that are true and lovely and, good report, if they have any praise. Where most thoughts, when they're intrusive like that, they don't even pass the truth test.
Yeah.
So if it's not true for over 1 million people, for millions of people, and it's not even a good one, then no. You're like, wait, where am I getting this from?
Yeah, that has to be very to learn how to pause in those moments and look at it how you're saying, and then ask yourself, where am I getting this from? Wow. I'm over here sitting thinking there's probably so many from that 8-year-old little girl that heard something back then that's still planted in today. That's amazing.
But that's why some people, they say they want to be healed, but they actually don't, because what is the secondary benefit?
Yeah.
So I've spoken to people where it's taking them longer, or they couldn't get the healing yet until they actually dealt with it, was because they made their whole identity around their sickness. They made the whole identity around that, or they made the whole business around that too. That's how they're getting their finances. Now, I'm saying that because you probably know people like that too. It's like, oh, they can get better if they do these other things. But there are secondary benefits that they're not even aware of. Who are they without that sickness? Or same thing with some subcultures. Who am I if, now I have to betray who my parents, how they groomed me. If I'm making more money than they are, and it's easier for me than it was for them, I'm betraying. And that's actually something that came up for me recently, that one of the things that God has been undoing in me is this performance. It's like, no, you are not going to get where I have for you through performing. You will only get it through my grace.
Yeah.
And so it was just not doing a lot of things.
And that has to be that almost has to be uncomfortable. Yeah. In the beginning, because it's no, you almost feel like you have to earn it. You have to perform for it. It has to be a reward for whatever that you're doing. And he's saying, no, just be.
Just be. You're going to learn. And that's part of the death of, people call it the ego, but it's really around just a belief system, right? Yeah. It's like, well, this is what I've been groomed, that it was, blue collar, and you work really hard, and you do what you got to do. And God's like, no, I've already done it. Your act is obedience, and I decide the outcome. Wow. And I was like, what do you mean? Releasing control of those things. Yeah. And that's the thing that he's been taking away from me. But one of the things that he showed me, and I was on a walk and just listening to some worship music and stuff. And all of a sudden it's just dropped. He's like, you don't want to make more money without working really hard because you think you're betraying your parents. Wow. And you're dishonoring them by earning more by doing much less.
Wow.
And until you release that, you're not going to be able to receive everything I have for you, which is selfish, because it's not about the money thing. It's there are people who are waiting for me. And until I step into who I am and release the parts of me that actually are not from his original design. Now I am, the way he explained to me is like, he's created people to be an answer to prayer. Like, right, this is an answer to prayer for somebody. Somebody's going to be able to tune into somebody and they're going to get the answer, the hope that they need. But if we don't say yes to that, now we are hindering somebody else's progress. And it was the same thing with earning more. It's like, well, I already told you the projects that I want funded, and you're not letting me fund them because now you think you're dishonoring your parents because you're not working as hard as they did in order to give you your sister.
Wow. That
was a human one.
Yeah, that's eye-opening, right there, because I wonder how many of us can sit. First of all, I wonder how many of us have actually just said, I'm going to sit here and try to, in who am I without all of those things that other people put on me? I mean, that alone is like, oh my gosh, where do you even begin? Where do you even start? And so is that like, that's kind of the work like that you help people filter through, isn't it? Like how to take your mind to clear out some of that stuff.
Yeah. So then, I ask them like those kind of questions. What's triggering you? Yeah. Let's talk about your triggers. So sometimes if they hire me I have an opportunity where you just do it like through, Messenger or WhatsApp or something, because things would just come up. And I was like, literally, people will start to spiral and it stops the spiral in 3 minutes. So it doesn't take that long, but it's just like being able to have that pause and the support of like, no, there's actually nothing's gone wrong. Let's slow it down enough to start breaking it down. And then you can make a decision. Because we don't make as many decisions as we would like to believe. I mean, we hear it. We know like 95% of the time things are automatic, and yet we're not doing the work to make our lives easier. So if you want to go and flow, you actually have to rewire your brain so that you're making the right 95% of the time. I was like, wow, that's better than Vegas. 95% of the time, your actions are going to be on point. Why wouldn't you? I call it the 1% model. So 1% is 1% or less of your day. 1% is 14 minutes and 40 seconds, so about 15 minutes. Most of my clients, they don't need that. They do like 7 minutes of rewiring and they're ready to go. So what if you can do that for yourself? And, we were talking about compound interest before. I'm like, oh, that's like your own personal mutual fund, right? When you're doing things for yourself, how important that is. But what if you can do that for yourself 1% of the day or whatever that is, right? Whether it's, doing those kind of models, just slowing down enough to journal, like what is the circumstance? What is the thought? What is the feeling that's coming up, the emotions? What is that making me want to do or not want to do? What are the results? Usually the results are the same as the circumstance. Like, I don't have any money in my account. That's making me feel bad about myself, and now I feel bad because that I should be doing more. And the results is now I'm analysis paralysis. And what does that give me? Well, I still don't have the money in the account. But what if you take the same model and be like, what if the circumstance can stay the same, but my internal mechanism is different?
Yeah.
Then the results will be different.
Yeah.
But until you rewire, your brain is your AI. So it's like, oh, it's your internal AI. It's feeding back to you. People always talk about a mirror. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that. I hear people say, everybody's a mirror of you. No, I have nothing in common with the serial killer. Although sometimes I wonder, because I watch a lot of daylight. Right? And I don't have anything in common with people who are into maps. Not the folding kind, the one that's like predatory for children. Yeah. They're not a mirror of me, no thank you, mm-hmm. Right? We're not a mirror of anybody, this bullshit. Yeah. But your brain is your mirror. It's like, what are you feeding it? It's going to mirror it back to you through your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Your feelings, it's just data. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, that's just data. Your negative thoughts, you're normal. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want people to remember. If you were having a lot of negative thoughts, like even my suicidal ones that I was having, that's normal, mm-hmm. because of the thoughts that I was entertaining. Mm-hmm. And had I known that it was just because of the thoughts that I was entertaining, and by entertaining, it's like you're thinking them, you're accepting them, you're saying yes to them, they sound like wisdom. Mm-hmm. But anything that comes up that is not good for you, that is not good for people around you, those are not the thoughts that God is having toward you. They're not passing the truth test. And so now you can take control back. And that's probably the best piece of advice for hope that I have for you is that you're not broken. You're just thinking things that are not the best for you. And when you start to change those things, it's a compound effect. It will change. Your feelings will change. But first, that's where you put your will. Because your will is only there to push you, to help you to make a decision in the moment. And then you make that quality decision and just say, you know what, this too will pass. This too will pass. And it will.
And for somebody that's listening and tuning in whenever they're going to catch this, what would you say is an indicator to somebody? Like what if they just know something's off, or they're just not where they feel that they want to be? How do they know that this is the work that you actually should be doing to get out of that space? Like, how would somebody recognize that in themselves?
The best thing they can do is just say, you know what, I'm going to be a scientist for the next 3 to 7 days, and start to write things down. And what's funny, it was coming up to me is like, I'm 52, right? So anybody who loves the Golden Girls, there was this one episode where if you haven't seen the Golden Girls, well, it's funny and it's still relevant 30 years later. You'll be surprised how good the writing is, right? But there's this one character, Dorothy, and she's known to be like the negative Nelly, right? Everything's always like, rah, rah, rah. And she goes somewhere and she's like, well, this is stupid. With Rose, who's just like the naive, happy one. And the challenge was to write down every thought for the next 24 hours, every negative thought that comes up. And then she does this and she starts saying, she's like, oh my gosh, will you believe that I have all these negative thoughts? And we're like, oh, really? You do? And she's just like reading off the first page. And then she's like, I have pages. So we're just like, I don't want to just sit here and read all your thoughts. But you'll be surprised of all the thoughts that you're having that are actually not what you want, what you say you want. So doing that internal audit and be like, I'm going to use my voice note recorder. And again, it's not for judgment.
Yeah.
It's for you to be able to say, where is this coming from? Yeah. Let me just keep on having, if you're not jotting it down, then how do you know?
Yeah.
Slowing down enough to be, even if you do it for one day, like today, and that's actually the fast that people talk about, fasting that breaks things. The fast that actually God talks about is the fast of stinking thinking. So if you go into a fast of stinking thinking, that's going to be the hardest fast. You're like, I would rather do food and water. This is very difficult. But if you do a fast of stinking thinking, even for 24 hours, allow the junk to come up, jot it down. Again, you're just being a scientist. It's like, wow, these are things that maybe you don't have to decide. You don't have to figure out right then and there where it's coming from, but just be aware that this is actually what's playing in the background. And now you're empowered because now you're able to see some evidence of like, this is some BS. I don't want this manifesting and being an automatic thing for me to take action on.
And it could be things that are just so automatic, like you're not even aware. And so now to place intention around that, like you said, even for one day, could be eye-opening and could be the beginning of changing, being able to make those changes forward. So you are absolutely amazing, like all the time. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, maybe this intrigued them. Maybe they're like, okay, I need to know more about this, or just how do I get started? Like, how would somebody do that if they wanted to get a hold of you?
I'm most active on Facebook, but you can go to yourgpsforsuccess.net, and toward the bottom it has my socials. You can reach out, just send me a DM and tell me that you found me through here, so that way I can, I'm always up to a conversation and giving people tips and stuff in the DMs. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn are the best places to reach me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my beautiful friend, for tuning in and sharing like all of this. Number one, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that the 4 times through did not work, and that you are here to share like everything that you're doing. But I just love the way you bring this information to us, because it is very complex, but you simplify it down, and just makes us want to like get better, be better. So
Thank you for the opportunity. I love what you're doing here. I fully support you. And please, please, if you're in that space, do not take your life. You're beautifully, wonderfully made, and nothing has gone wrong. Reach out to me or somebody.
Yeah, I love that. Nothing has gone wrong. I tell you, I hear that in my head like so many times, and I'm like, there's Raquel again. Nothing has gone wrong. There's Raquel again. Nothing. So thank you for that gift, because it's like forever in there. All righty, my beautiful friend. I love you, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Bye.
Oh, yes, that is like the one gold. Nothing has gone wrong. I hear that. Raquel said that once in a conversation, like, I don't know, a couple years ago, and it's just never left me. And I think it's something that we can all benefit from. Just nothing has gone wrong. All right. How are we doing? If you are there tuning in, please say hello. We will keep the party going. I want to get my thing back up here and see. Okay, there we go. I got 2 screens and computer, everything moving. So 5th annual Christmas in July 24-hour live streamathon. We are approaching 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we are a couple hours in. We will be here through 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. So amazing, amazing. My next guest I have the honor of bringing on, she's one of my local girls, Miss Teresa Julerat. She was part of the Radiance event. She spoke her story, and just amazing. And it's been a minute since you and I have like had our dinner, our girls' night. And I just want to know like what you're up to. But you are here to bring a story of hope and inspiration. And if anybody can do that, girl, like you've got almost too many that you could pull from. So first, why don't you start by telling people who you are and where you're joining us from?
Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Julerat, and I am joining you from Fort Wayne, Indiana, born and raised here. I'm just grounded, rooted in with family and just connections and just all of the people that I love here. Maybe someday I'll venture out elsewhere, but here I am.
Yep, here, and I'm right there too. Here I am. Maybe someday I'm going to venture out too, but here we are. So thank you so much for taking time to be here today. It kind of sounds like you like life is lifing for you still and all the things, but we are here to share some hope, and we each bring something different when we think of what hope looks like in our lives. And so we'll just start by asking, like, what does hope mean to you?
Hope it goes right along in parallel with faith. Mm-hmm. For me, hope sometimes feels unattainable. You know, life throws you a lot of curveballs, and there's sometimes where you lose hope along the way. And then insert the gentle reminders that hope is not lost, and you're surrounded by people that love you, and this is strength within yourself. Some of the things that you are thrown require you to dig deep and learn things about yourself that you never knew. My story involves a lot of loss, and this year alone I've had a lot of losses. I've lost dear friends. I just lost an uncle yesterday. So the journey continues. The most prominent loss for me was 6 years ago when I lost my son, Chris. And I lost him to fentanyl poisoning. And if the today me could go back to then, and I've learned a lot along the way, and I've grown not only as a woman, as a mother, as a person, but in my grief. It very well could have destroyed me, and it didn't. You talk to several parents that say, if my child were to ever leave me, take me too. There's no way that I could go on even a single minute. And that was me as well. I never imagined having to experience that and the throes of everything that goes along with it. And now to sit here before you 6 years later, and there's been other devastation along the way. I lost in January, the first week of January, right after the holidays. You know, right when everybody starts their resolutions and they start focusing on goals and wellness, I narrowly escaped a house fire. And I lost everything that I own. And I'm in the rebuilding process. Thank goodness I had insurance and I was covered well that way. But to be displaced and to lose everything that I was trying to build, you know, my home was my sanctuary, it was my sweet escape from reality. And after my son passed, I spent a lot of time at home. And now to no longer have that, I'm told that, you know, how strong I am and how, you know, you've gone through so much and you've lost so much. And I say, you know, it's nothing. Yes, I lost things. That does not compare to my child. So if I can get through the loss of my son, this fire is nothing. And I'm eagerly awaiting to return. But until then, I am in a season of waiting and patience and the witnessing the blessings along the way that I can still see.
I love that. I wanted to give you, full screen right there because, coming in at the start of this year, another level of devastation has, when we're thinking of hope, I remember at one time in my life saying that I felt like Rocky in the ring. That every time I feel like I'd finally get some strength in my footing, I'd get up and then boom, like another blow would just like knock me down and then I'd get up. How do you keep getting up?
I know who I am and I know whose I am. And I know that my story did not end there. It very well could have, but it didn't. And just looking, I've got grandkids, you know, to set an example for. And just looking at the vision, you know, my goals don't change. My vision of where I want to be has not changed. But within me, you know, even with my house fire, if you were to drive by my fire today or my house today, it doesn't look that bad from the outside. But on the inside, it's a hot mess. And I kind of explain that like that's like me. I'm like my house. You can't tell on the outside that I've been through so much and I've had to rise up so many times and put the terrible behind me. But on the inside, there's been a lot of work happening there. And I'm proud of myself. And it just not giving up and just the resilience that I've built along the way. It's just, I see it, but most importantly, I feel it.
And I love that you can say that you feel it. What is going on in your life today that is actually giving you hope for something for tomorrow?
Well, 6 years into my grief and again, losing everything, the dynamics have shifted a bit for me. I'm a lover. I sit in rooms that others are afraid of. I have conversations that others are too difficult to have. I don't shy away from them. I gravitate towards them. And it's exhausting and it has taken a lot out of my soul. So this year, in the rebuild, I'm just looking for my happiness. I've poured so much of my time and energy into other people that have experienced the same losses that I have. And I want to set an example for myself. Like my joy is out there and it's waiting for me to find it. And so I'm just making moves and I'm putting myself first. There's a lot of self-care going on over here. And this is a season of me. And that's very different than all the years past because I've always put myself in the back seat. Everybody else has come first. And now this year, it's my turn.
Well, number one, I'm so glad to hear that. Yay. I mean, because at some point it has to be, or there's nothing left of you to even pour into others anymore. But do you feel were you already on this part of the journey before the house fire, or do you feel the house fire kind of just like took everything down, that you're like, okay, like something's got to change, and it has to start with me? Were you already on the journey, or do you think the house fire kind of pushed you into it?
I was not on that journey.
Okay.
To be completely transparent with you, the last quarter of 2025 was bad for me and my mental health. I was in a point of my life where it felt like this is it. It's not going to get better than this. And I honestly, deep down, didn't know if I had the wherewithal to move forward. I didn't want to. I had lost the reasons, my purposes. Yes, I've moved mountains in 6 years, but my own mountain just felt like it just wasn't budging. The exterior was different than interior, and I was struggling. And I wasn't struggling to the point where I was going to self-harm or anything like that, but I had lots of conversations at the cemetery that I, just said, you know what, talking to my son, because I go there at all hours of the night. You know what? I'm ready. So however, whenever, I'm ready to see you again. Everybody here will be fine. I'm ready for that reunion. And then the fire happened. And the fact that beyond the fire, the fact that my life was spared, the fact that I woke up and still had time, didn't have much time, but had time to scramble around and get myself and my 2 dogs out, and left everything else behind. All I had was my vehicle and my phone and my dogs. And having just, as the few days, those first few days were rough. I had to take myself to the ER because I had a lot of smoke inhalation. I thought I broke some ribs, and it was just bad times. And in those moments, I thought, you know what? Somebody could be planning my funeral right now. Or this is a day that I'm waking up that I almost didn't get a chance to experience. And I started looking at it more of a gift than ever before. And it was in those moments of healing through the fire that I realized, I reminded myself, I'm a fighter, and my story does not end here. And I need to thank God each and every day that I wake up for giving me more days. I thought I was ready to be done and to throw in the towel, but by no means am I ready.
Yeah. Wow. And it's amazing that sometimes it has to take something like that, almost like God gives you a glimpse of what you may wish for, knowing that no, because that's not really the plan that I have for you. So that happened the start of this year. We're only going into July. Was your house was it or was it completely gone?
It was saved. I've got some good bones. My interior was taken down to the studs. And so now I get to put it all back together. And I'm not expected to be able to go back home until around October.
Okay.
So still I've got a few months to go, but it's going to be the nicest, most newest, emptiest home on the block.
I love that. So how have the conversations then changed as you have visited your son at the cemetery? How have the conversations changed since the fire, when you were first telling him, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to be with you? Have they changed?
They have. They have, you know, as we've talked over the years, my son was way more than the circumstances that claimed his life. And I have conversations with him every day. And, you know, he was my best friend when he was here, and that has not changed. He knows everything. He knew everything about me then, and continues to be a very big instrumental part of my life. I just, in my conversations with him now, a lot of it is the same as if he were here, but now he knows that I'm not ready. Our reunion will come, it will happen, but we've got a lot of work to do until then. Just the lives that he's saved, and just sharing his story over the 6 years that he's been gone, it leaves behind a legacy that, you know, he's been a big part of a lot of other individuals' stories on why they're still here, and as well a big part of mine.
And if we can, because we don't know who's going to catch this or what they're going through, can you talk about just the journey that you've had with fentanyl? You've really pushed to bring the subject to the surface. You've really pushed to have some change happen, but there's still that stigma that hangs around things like that too. Can you actually just speak to the subject of fentanyl? Because I do feel people need to hear that, like, you know, parents and even young, you know, people, everybody needs to hear more about it.
Yeah. Well, fentanyl is something that I had no idea it was out there 6 years ago.
Do you mind if I give you full screen on this part? Because I love when I hear you speak on it. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know what it was. And when I found my son unresponsive that morning, I thought he had a medical emergency. So I did all the things that I knew to do. I administered CPR. It was right at the brink of COVID. So I was not, they did regain a pulse that day, and I was not able to accompany him to the hospital, but I was standing by the phone just waiting to be told that I could come pick him up. And when the call came, that was very much not how the call went down. I was told that he had passed. And in those moments, you know, not knowing how, because that's the first question everybody wants to know is, how did he pass? I didn't know, and I didn't want to label him until I knew what claimed his life. So when the toxicology result and the autopsy report came back, and I started reading, you know, he had over 10 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. I had no idea what it was. So I reached out to members in the community who could help educate me. And I found out very quickly that it was claiming other lives in our community, and I was not alone. And my first question was, why isn't everybody talking about this? If this is killing our kids, why isn't somebody doing something about this? And I remember a very distinct day in my sunroom, one of those days where I was living in the terrible and just screaming out to God, you know, why my son? Why not somebody else's son? Why does it have to be mine? And what is going to be done? And why can't somebody do something? And I heard a voice, and again, it sounded like my son, but again, when you're in deep in grief, your mind plays very mean tricks on you, and you don't really know. You know, it could have been God, it could have been my son, it could have been my complete imagination, but I heard the words, why not you? Why not you? Who loves people enough? Like, go out there and do something. You're somebody. Maybe you're the somebody that can help. So in those days, I decided to get up and do something. And that same year, I went to Washington, D.C., and there was a rally that was being held by other families that were experiencing the same. And the rally was held in front of the Chinese embassy in DC. And the message that was being sent at that time was, all of these drugs, that they're not pharmaceuticals, they're synthetic drugs, they're being made in labs, and these pills and poisons and drugs are being shipped into our country. They're getting into our borders, and they're feeding into all of our neighborhoods and communities into the hands of our children. These are things that I didn't know, and these are things that I learned along the way. So I was already an advocate in our community, and so we expanded our mission to support families of fentanyl poisoning. And it's very important to call them poisonings because these are very different from overdoses. I have said my son has overdosed. I have said that in the past, just in conversation, because a lot of people don't have the time or even the attention to stop and listen to my story. Well, it's a poisoning, and I learned that there's other drugs out there that are even worse. And just as part of this advocacy and sitting in rooms with these families, it's hundreds in our community alone, hundreds of thousands if you add up everybody across our country. So again, advocacy didn't stop there. I was invited to come and speak in front of Congress and share my son's story there in hopes to get some laws changed. Because if the change is going to happen, it's going to happen from the top. And I feel like I was used as a vessel for that and to help bring forth that change. Fast forward to now, in Indiana and various states around our country, there are laws in place where if you get caught dealing a drug and it results in a death, that's a felony, and you could be charged with that. And not only will that help save lives and help get drugs off of our streets, it will help instill deterrence. And it also, it helps honor our children that had succumbed to such a drug. There's been lots of other things. Those are just small mountains that I was able to do just as me as a mom. And I've shared with you in the past that in order for change, this level of change to happen, it is going to come from the families. It's going to come from the mothers, the fathers, the siblings that have lost in this way. And we are an army. We are an army. We are a force to be reckoned with. And now fentanyl is all over the news. It's a household name in the fact that the awareness is out there. And again, I talked about the lives that are being saved. Recovery is possible. I have very good friends that are in the recovery community that I've learned a lot from. Just because you experience and you're suffering from addiction doesn't mean that you lose hope and that your future ends there. Their recovery is possible, and I've seen it. I've very good friends, are very good role models in the community. And just to know that there's that glimmer of hope for those individuals that are struggling. Addiction was foreign to me. I don't have any addictions in my family. And so learning and just being in the trenches and just being a part of such a giant movement has meant the world to me. With everything else going on in my life currently, I haven't advocated as much. We do have an event that we're planning in August that is a overdose awareness rally that we've done every year. And this year I'm getting help from some local teens in the community that they reached out and they want to help. They want to be a part of the solution because they themselves have been in the midst of the problem, whether they've lost family members or even parents, or maybe they lived in a home, grew up with addictions. There's an army of kids in our community that are ready to stand up and raise their voices and help be vessels within their own, amongst their peers. So everything that has transpired in 6 years is nothing short of beautiful. It has been hard to get to this point, but again, we're all in this together. Getting the support of other families that have experienced the same, there's that unspoken understanding. And I have built so many friendships with moms. I gravitate to the moms, not leaving the dads out, but my heart is with those moms. And I've built so many good friendships with women that were once strangers to me. And now they're pretty much stuck with me. And we're in this together. And so it's been quite the journey.
And I love that the
I've built
young
so
ones
many
are coming
good
forward and wanting
friendships
to
with
be a part of
women that
this.
were
You know,
once strangers
I
to
think
me.
from that
And
perspective,
now
they're looking at the friends they're losing, and it's hitting them in a whole nother way. And so if somebody's tuning in and they're in our area and they want to know more about what you're doing in August, is there a specific way for them to reach out to you, or is it just a message, or how would they do that?
feel free to message me on Facebook. You can send me a private message. You can just that's the best way to get a hold of me, and I will share contact information with you as an individual. We'll set up time to talk. Maybe there's somebody in another state that wants to know, how can I advocate in my area? I'm a part of a 501c that we're here locally. I have been asked in other communities, where did you start? How can we build that same army that you have there in Fort Wayne, Indiana? How can I bring that here? Or here's some ideas. Can we meet and I can throw them at you and you can tell me, what has worked for you in your area, maybe what hasn't worked. I will be happy to set time aside for you and just help you with any idea or any way that you yourself want to take this further. I'm here to support you.
I love that. I love that. And being that, maybe somebody's catching this that knows me but doesn't know Teresa, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you guys, like however we need to do this. But I just appreciate every time that it's been amazing to watch this journey with you from the very first year of having you come on and talk about this into where you are now, and just also knowing that on this journey that you keep pushing through. I mean, it doesn't mean that life stops and it's a clear runway. Like you're still pushing forward while bricks are still crumbling, from on top of you. And so just from the bottom of my heart, I just want you to know that I love you and I have mad respect for you. And I'm always in your corner because from the outside, girl, you're looking good.
Thank you.
but if that hot mess is still going on inside, then we need another girls' night.
It's getting better. And thank you. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of you and all the work that you do. And it's such an honor to sit here on this 24-hour streamathon, and you were out here doing wonderful things. And I'm here for you. I'm one of your biggest fans.
Love you, girl. Thank you so much for tuning in with us, and prayers out to you and your family on the passing of your uncle yesterday. So
thank you so much.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Yes, everyone. So Teresa is absolutely amazing, and the journey that she has gone through from the loss of her son to the loss of her home. There's just so much being rebuilt, over these years. But if you are curious or interested in knowing more about number one, the local event that is coming up, or even just needing to discuss, maybe someone who has lost someone to fentanyl, or just want to have a conversation around that. If you want to reach out to me for the connection to Teresa, that is fine. I'm here to do that, or just reach out to her directly. But that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for. So as we continue to move on, my next guest, we're going to have two people join us in the beginning, and then we will have just me and him. This is going to be a different type of story of hope. We are going to be hearing from a young man who has gone through a leukemia journey of his own. And from his perspective, I want him to be able to share a story of hope and inspiration, but we're going to bring both him and his mom up. I'm going to welcome Dominic Durnell and Christina Ray Durnell. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Domi.
You hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you guys for being here. So, Domi, before you and I get into our conversation, I want to ask your mom, Christina, just a couple questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, Christina, thanks for being here. And for those that might know, you're my cousin, and Dominic is your son, my family too. But from a mom's perspective, earlier today we've heard from a couple moms who have gone through a cancer journey. But I just want to hear from your perspective, learning of Dominic's condition, what, right around Christmas last year?
Yeah, so it was, he was diagnosed on January 3rd, 2025. So he had been feeling very ill the whole month of December in 2024. So we finally got some answers because I kept pushing it because they kept testing him for everything, like flu, COVID, strep. There was just everything, and it was all coming back negative. And I knew something wasn't right because Dominic's a spunky kiddo, and he was not his normal spunky self. So we kept pushing, and then they did finally do a blood test and got the blood work results back, and we finally could pinpoint what was the diagnosis of B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
Okay, and then from there things just moved full speed ahead.
Correct. We went into the oncology office at like 9:30, 10 a.m. that morning of January 3rd, and then we were on our way to Riley Children's Hospital by 6 p.m. at night.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Dami some questions, and then I'll pull you back on so that we can talk about kind of what other parents might need to know if they're just thrown into this type of scenario. And I know you and I have talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. We'll do this. Okay. So Dominic, why don't you tell everybody where you're joining us from and how old are you?
I'm Dominic Durnell. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm 12 years old.
12 years old. So Dami, let's talk about how you have felt from the moment that you found out you had leukemia. Can you tell everybody listening how you felt in that moment?
Well, first of all, like my mom was saying, the end of November, about I would say 2025, around Thanksgiving, that's when I started not really feeling the best. So like from there on, all the way till January, and all, it really was hard for me because like I like hanging out with my friends and stuff, and it was so hard for me just to be so down, and it was hard for me to sleep at night. I really had heart problems, like heart beating fast and stuff. I have massive headaches, and
So you just knew you weren't feeling good. Were you tired, and were you just kind of tired of feeling yucky?
I would say, yeah, the whole time I was like, I barely even did anything. I was just scrolling through my phone, sleeping all day, and then that's when my mom realized, obviously I have way more energy than that. I'm usually outside, being active, and so she was on it and wanted me to get tested. So we went in the first time, and they just tested me for like she said, like flu, coronavirus and stuff, and everything came back negative. And so then on, it kept on getting worse. So my mom just like one of my mom's friends, aunt, she's a nurse, and she suggested to get blood test because I was so white and pale. And I got a blood test, and January 3rd is when that morning I went into the oncology clinic, and that's when I found out that I had.
And so while you're finding all of this out, and then you're like headed to all these doctors and the hospital and all this like new stuff, did you have time to like be afraid, or were you still kind of like, what's going on?
I would say both. Like that part was just processing it, because like in my mind, I know that a lot of people die from cancer, so like I was really scared about that. I told my friends. They're like, "Whoa, really? Are you kidding?" And then like I said, it was real. Then that's when everything started. My mom made a page, and then that's when my whole journey started. I would say I was just I was so into the moment, like I couldn't even think about it. That same day I just came home, I burst down crying because my aunt was there, and like that's when I actually thought about it, like really.
So what, as you've gone through some of the tests, because I know that you've had to, do so many different things, Was there ever a time that you felt like, I'm losing hope here? Because today we're talking all about hope in ways that people can keep the faith and keep going. So was there ever a point that you just kind of felt like, I don't even want to do this anymore. There's too much going on. Did you ever feel like that?
Many times.
Many times?
And I would like to say, at the very beginning, it was so hard for me that sometimes I felt like I didn't even want to be in the world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when like my mom was like starting to like help me more, and I figured it out, and I started praying more, going to church more, and then that's when I figured out that Jesus chose me, and that I could get through this. But yeah, I would say all last year it was probably, I felt like that a lot of times.
And I think I want to thank you for sharing that, because when you say Jesus, Jesus chose you. And so that's why you were on my heart to bring on here today, because you are brave enough to talk about it. And sometimes people might feel like they're really alone going through a situation. And you did lean on God, you did lean on your faith. How has that changed your life? Has Jesus made you feel better?
Well, I would say yes. Like when I was at home all day, it was so hard. Every day, I would just be watching TV. My doctor said I can't really go anywhere because my immune system was so low. Like if I go out in public, I would get sick, and it wouldn't be good. So what I would do is I would read the Bible, talk to God during my time at home. Probably for like 3 months, I was at home and I couldn't do anything really. I couldn't go out to eat, so we did a lot of door dashing, and so yeah, that's what I did. Just watching my TV and learn more about God, because there's plenty of time to do that when you just sit at home. So
Yeah, absolutely. And what about your friends? Like, were you able, because you probably had to like stop going to school for a while, huh?
oh yeah, so I did the first half of 5th grade, and then on Christmas break, obviously that's when I found out. So I couldn't go back until the start of 6th grade. So that whole year, I would, for friends wise, everyone would. Sometimes I would just have to call and play video games with them, because I couldn't see them because my immune system. But eventually, I got to see most of them in July last year, in 2025. I had a party, early party for my birthday, and I invited all my friends. So
Oh, I bet that was fun to be able to have everybody back together.
it was, and I would like, and also like it would be so hard. It's so hard mentally, because like I'm so used, like usually before I had cancer, every weekend I would just have sleepovers. So it's so hard to like not do anything with like your friends and just sit back, watch them. Everyone makes TikToks about and posts about their spring break last year, and I felt bad because I didn't get to go anywhere. That's just the hardest part, is just sitting back and watching everyone else have fun while you sit inside.
Yes. Now, and I can't imagine that would be really hard. And I'm sure there were probably a lot of times you wanted to just sit and cry, because I know that I probably would if I saw everybody having a great time and I knew that I couldn't be there. Have you, when you've gone into the hospital for treatments and stuff, have you made any friends with anyone going through this that's been at the hospital at the same time as you?
If you can,
Do you ever get a chance to like meet any of the other kids that are there?
I mean, not really, because like they want to be spread apart, so they don't. Yeah, and also I would say, if this counts, I made friends with a lot of my nurses. So
Well, that counts. That says a lot, and that's great that the nurses are there to answer questions. Was everybody very open to explaining to you like what some of the tests were going to be like, or what you would be feeling? Like, were they all trying to keep you informed on what was going on?
So since it's a children's clinic, there is a very much child specialist, and they are so great there, because they like go on their computer and like simulate it as the like coolest way possible. Like they put it on paper and try to make you feel less worried, and it helped me a lot. So they would explain it really well.
Well, that's good. And are you the type, do you ask a lot of questions?
Oh yeah, 100%. A lot of people.
You ask a lot of questions. So what are some things that are happening in your life today that you're really excited about?
Well, this year I started in about this January. I started chemo pills, so that means I won't have to go in every week. So I take chemo pills every night, and then every 3 months I go in back for a spinal tap for my back and stuff to make sure it's doing good. And every other 4 weeks I go to get an antibiotic. So basically I'm back. I feel pretty back to normal. So I would say I can do more things now. I can go outside. I can go in public because my immune system boosted a lot since last year.
Good.
Very happy about. I could go sleepovers, friends, and right now currently my family's over from Mexico, so that's very happy.
Oh, very, very nice. And one of the things I got, since I was like blessed to be able to see you not too long ago, your hair is coming back and it's coming back almost a different color, right?
And a different texture. It's always it was very blonde like my dad's, and it was very straight. And now it's coming back darker and almost like natural highlights, with, and kind of like darkish. And it's also the texture is curly, wavy. So
How's that? How does that feel when you're able to see it and it's like different than what you've always had?
I would say I never liked my straight hair. Same with my brother. We both have straight hair. That's why he got a perm a long time ago. That's why it gets textured, powder, and whatever. So I would say we don't like straight hair. So I'm very happy that I got it back naturally without straight hair.
That's very cool. You're kind of digging it. So Dami, a couple more questions. If somebody is watching this, maybe a mom is watching this who has her kid is kind of going through your journey, or maybe somebody young is watching this on YouTube or it comes across. What kind of message would you share that gives them some hope to keep going and to not give up? What would you want to tell them?
For parents, I would say just like if you need to talk to someone, because I remember my mom was struggling with that. She kept on stressing, and eventually I'm glad that she gets to talk to Jesus and my grandma. She talks to my grandma a lot about it. And for kids, just stay strong and just do the things you love that doesn't cost too much energy. Like for example, when I was sitting at home all day, I played my favorite video games, I watched my favorite shows, I get my favorite foods. So you could still do some of the things you love, but just stay hopeful and like don't lose hope at all, because the doctors do their best and they'll do good and help you out.
I love that. And one more question for you before I ask your mom some questions. You wrote a book at some point. Can you kind of share with people a little bit about that? What inspired you to write?
Well, I actually haven't done it yet, but like I got like some of the pages in my mind, because I'm not gonna fully publish it until I'm fully done, which is next May, or actually the next end of April. And what it's about is like I just want to. The message for my book that I want to write is like to have hope and just pray a lot. Doesn't matter what religion, just pray and just have hope. Trust in your doctors. Don't be rude, because I remember sometimes I was very rude to my doctors because I'd gone through so much and like I just couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. But they try their best, and if you're trying to let out your anger, just do it into a pillow, or just do it in your mind. Just don't do it at other people, because that's one mistake that I would regret and take back. So
that's a huge lesson, honestly, that you're sharing with all of us. When you have that anger, and we all have anger for different reasons, but what a way to that reminder, don't take it out on someone else, but still get it out, whether you got to shout in your pillow or punch your pillow or something, get it out.
Also, I'd like to say, if you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. Don't do things that you don't want to do, and just talk to someone. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. Especially if all your feelings are inside of you and you want to express to your parents or just anyone, just talk to someone, because I realized I always held my emotions in until I started talking to my grandma. For me, my grandma's the best person to talk to, but whoever is the best person to talk to, you talk to them.
Oh, that's amazing, and I think that that's an important message for everyone, is just to know that you have to talk to somebody to get it out. I love that. Do you mind if I bring your mom on now and ask her a couple questions?
Yeah, you can bring her on.
Okay, bring this here. All right. How does that make you feel, Mama, to see such a well-spoken young man who's getting me all choked up?
Very proud. Hey, Dom, she was talking about the book you wrote about Adrian, I think. Was that what you were very
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, that one that he wrote, but that I also know, like, we are going to probably,
Oh, yeah.
I'll help him publish the next one. But yeah, you did write a book for Cousin Adrian.
Yeah, I remember that. I was in like 3rd grade for young authors, and I remember at the time, that was when Adrian, around that time, that's when he died. So I was just very inspired to do a story about it, because I know that was a very important person for my mom. So I wanted to write a story about him.
Well, you're doing an amazing job, and you are an inspiration to a lot of people who are going through a difficult time right now. So I want to ask your mama, because I know that we've talked about this, the shock that comes that quickly, and not really having the resources of people telling you like what to expect, what to do next, like any of it. Can you kind of take us back to that time?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times, and I mean, I've kind of talked to some other moms when this has happened, like you just have to just turn into a whole nother person. It's like a different mode as a mom. You know, obviously we take care of our children, we help guide them, teach them. And when your child is diagnosed with cancer, it's a whole nother experience. Like I can't explain other cancer moms and dads, they know. But it was hard and overwhelming because Dominic went from taking 0 medications to, I think one day at Riley, he had to take up to 16 pills.
Wow.
And he never knew how to take pills. And I mean, this was so stressful watching him struggle. I mean, they tried so hard. They were helping him. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it was their fault. And it's not his fault. But if I could go back now, I would just ask more questions about things to make it easier for a kid, because kids aren't used to taking 16 pills.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think anybody is. I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
you know.
for one minute, if I could join in for about that.
Yeah.
That was so hard for me because I've never. That was probably the first time I've taken a pill, and the first time they were giving me 6. So every time I would do that, I would just gag it out, like spit it out, because it's like I'm not used to that. They're trying to give me it in like huge pudding bites, but like that doesn't really help. And then eventually they had to crush it up and put it in a drink for me, which that was not the best, because my mom picked green apple, which is
So sorry, Dom. He's never going to have green apple Gatorade ever again.
I believe it. I believe it. It's like probably, you know, every time you even think of drinking it, you're like, no, not going to happen.
Well, I don't even like green apple, but it's sour. But like, what makes it worse is all the pills crushed up is probably the sour I've ever had in my life. And so that together is not the best. I kind of remember that, but I remember.
That's what I mean by asking more questions, because I just was in like this whole new mode that I hadn't experienced before. And I'm like, well, they're telling us we have to do this. Obviously, we're going to do anything we are told to do because we want to save our child and we want him to get better. So I would have just asked more questions about how can we make this easier for him. This isn't the first kid who's gotten this diagnosis.
Yeah.
This isn't the first kid who can't take 16 pills.
Yeah.
So I think it was 3 days into this, I finally was like, there's got to be something. Can we crush these pills? Honestly, I don't even know if it was just me who asked that, or if another nurse, or maybe it was the other mom next door who heard Dominic crying through the walls because she was in there with her 16-year-old daughter at the time. And we connected, and everybody just wants the best for your kids. You want them to get well, but you also don't want to see them struggle through that. Another struggle a lot of times was him getting his port accessed. So the port is underneath kind of by his heart area, and they do that so that they don't have to poke him every single time they draw blood, because in the beginning they were drawing blood pretty much every day.
Wow. So as a mom, or even just a parent, like, and you're pushed into all of this like immediately, how do you take care of yourself, like knowing that you have to still run a household, maybe have a job, maybe you have other kids, like how do you, for your own mental health, when you probably can't even process what's really happening because you're already pushed into go mode, like how did you cope with all of that?
It's kind of a blur, to be honest. I did have to keep my job, so I teach junior high Spanish, and thank God I have the community at school. Our principal, our assistant principals, all my coworkers, they helped me get through it. There was a gal who covered my classes for Monday through Wednesday, Laura Zimmerman, if you're watching, thank you so much. She was a godsend because she knew that this happened to Dominic, and she has a degree in Spanish, and she reached out to the school, and somehow she chose to cover those classes because she's had cancer touch her family directly, and I know she just wanted to try to ease the burden for me.
Yeah.
So that was cool to have somebody to deal with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The kids got to know her, and then I'd come in Thursday, Friday. But there was a lot of times I was in hospital rooms with Dominic on my computer, trying to hear what the nurses are saying, trying to get him to calm down. So I got to be honest, cousin, it's kind of a blur.
Yeah.
A lot of the blur. I just had to do it.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And so, Dami, you have an older brother. So how did that kind of work? Like, how was he with you? Did he ask you questions, or was it kind of, since he was in his own classes and stuff? Like, how did the cancer feel like between you guys as brothers?
I would say he didn't ask that much questions, but I would say like I definitely could tell that deep down he knows that he couldn't do as much with me, and I know that the first time I saw him and Riley, we both started crying because he couldn't come in and see me. So like we were just like looking at down the hallway. So that was pretty hard for him and me. And the first time I got home, he was really excited and all, but I kind of felt bad because like my parents were like, chill out for him. So
yeah, you got to kind of ease into it a little bit.
But like he was definitely sad he couldn't see me for a whole week. And other times, thankfully he could visit, but like, well, I would say definitely he probably was so used to not seeing me so much. I wonder. I mean, I don't really ask him how he feels, but I would say that would be hard to not see your brother.
Yeah.
Every day.
And so, go ahead.
I felt some guilt from that too, because I felt like I didn't have the time that I usually have for both of my kids. So that was rough. I do want to say my husband we couldn't have done it without each other, because he made sure Dylan had everything that he needed. And then obviously Dom needed me where I would have to be at the hospital or the clinic. So Kyle stepped up, and I'm really proud of us as parents.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. It was a whirlwind. As a mom, how does it make you feel to hear Dami talk about his faith in Jesus growing through this whole experience?
Well, I thought it was so cool because he had put a Bible on his Amazon wish list when he was in the beginning of this. And a parishioner from St. Charles, I think, is the person who actually ended up buying it for him or gifting it to him. And I don't even know some of these Bible passages. He was highlighting things. He was reading daily devotionals. I almost feel like because of him, it helped me. Like him doing those things kind of helped me through it too.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? So
I could show you it if you want me to.
Yeah, you can grab it. We can see it.
I customized it with my name on it. It says,
that's awesome. Is it?
It was probably not the best decision to get white, but fine.
Hey, but at least you have it, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
This
I
one-
see it.
And I would highlight, if you could see,
Yes.
I would
You use
highlight.
different color highlights.
Yep.
That's awesome.
hmm
That's very precious. That's a very precious Bible for you now.
Yes.
Yes.
That's beautiful. So Christina, what would you say so you created a group, like you created a group to share the journey like day by day by day. And what day are you on right now?
We're like on 551 or 552. It's been so crazy the last few days. Or since, like Dominic said, we have family here, but yeah, I can't believe we're like at 550 days of this.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just blows my mind.
Yeah. And it's been amazing to be included and updated on the journey. But what would you tell any parents that are facing news like this from the get-go that gives them hope right now?
Well, definitely just listen to your oncologist, listen to what they have to say. As soon as you hear those words, it breaks your heart. Like
I have
can't
something
tell you.
to say about that. My back to where my sibling is. My brother would like to say something real quick.
Oh, okay. Do we got Dylan there?
Yeah.
Hey, Dylan. How are you?
Sorry, I just got out of the shower. I'm good, but I just wanted to say I was listening to what Dominic said, and it was definitely like hard because I remember when I first found out, I was sleeping in my bed actually, and my dad walked into the room, and obviously I was already woken up kind of suddenly, so I was kind of startled, and the first words I hear is your brother has cancer, and obviously hearing that while first waking up, like that's something hard to hear just by itself, but when you first wake up and hear that,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like there's like I just didn't know how to react. So
Well, you probably almost wonder, am I dreaming right now? Is this like a dream, right?
so that was the beginning, but kind of over time, I'll be honest, I was kind of jealous seeing all the gifts he got, but just knowing that what he was going through, I knew that he deserved it because going through cancer is really hard. So there's definitely blessings that came out of it as well, though, like the pool in our backyard. He got a PlayStation for his room. Just this gifts that came from him having cancer is definitely well. But as a brother, it was definitely hard seeing my little brother struggle. But that's just the main point that I kind of had to say. But
No, I appreciate it. Can I ask you one more question before you pass it off?
Yeah.
Were there ever any nights like that when he was in the hospital and it was just you and your dad at home? Were there ever any nights where you would talk to God and ask him like how did it be him and not me? Or did you ever have those kinds of thoughts running in your head?
not really what you said. I definitely talked to God. I prayed that he would get better, more so. Not. I didn't really make it about me. I was trying to make it more about him and that he would get better. Recently in December, I actually started a TikTok page dedicated to reading Bible verses, talking about God. It wasn't necessarily connected to Dominic having cancer, but it's just having a TikTok account about God and stuff. So
Is that still up right now?
yeah, it's still up. I haven't posted on it in a while, but I definitely want to get back into it.
Well, share that. Be sure to have your mom share that. I would want to follow it. I mean, I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool for you guys as teenagers to share your faith.
Yeah, it's really good because my one of my good friends, he also just recently started a Bible account, and I think it's good that more and more teens are getting closer to God. I agree.
I agree too. Absolutely. So Mama, oh my God, I got a big old lump in my throat because I absolutely love everybody and the messages that they're sharing here. But yes, as a mom, just how are you feeling through this whole thing? Because we know sometimes God works in mysterious ways and you don't ever look at wanting to go through something so tragic, but to know that God is present in your lives and you feel the love. I mean, how are you feeling just as a mom?
Well, when this is all over, I'm gonna have like, I don't know. I'm probably gonna let it all out.
Yeah.
I feel blessed and grateful to my family, the community, and Dominic for helping me get through it with him. I mean, honestly, he's such a strong little guy. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
Very proud of him. And the other parents, and if you're starting this journey, know you're not alone. There are people to help you. There are a lot of resources for cancer kiddos, pediatric cancer patients. Listen to your social workers at the clinics. They can help you ask questions. There's never you can never ask too many questions.
Yes.
And stay
Amen.
strong.
Yep. I love that. All right, Dami, is there any last thing that you want to share? Because we got some time.
I'd say I'd like to give a shout out to my grandma for doing so much. She was like the second mom for me because when my mom had to go in or do dance, she would come over to watch me. And she's probably gone to the clinic with me about 30 times, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
She goes with me a lot too, just like my mom. And I know it was hard for my dad too because he had to work all day. And I know he couldn't spend time and come to the clinic really that much. So I bet that was hard for him. And I just want to say thanks to my grandma. Like I said, I talked to her about a lot of stuff, and she's a very, very welcoming person. She doesn't ask questions; she just listens. So that's what I like. And I'd like to say, just have hope and don't give up, because I lost hope and I almost wanted to give up, but I got encouragement from my mom, my grandma, my family, and the page my mom makes. There's a lot of encouragement from that, and my family's here. A lot of more encouragement every week.
And that is like the best thing that we can all give each other is just that love and encouragement, because life can be hard, and as long as we know that there's always someone there and people to listen, that's like the main thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to say thank you both, for coming on here, because you are a special. Well, both Dylan and Dami, you guys are special young men, and Christina, I know that you've been holding it together, and I just want you to know I love you, cousin. So.
Love you too.
All right. I'll let you guys get back to your day. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Tell Aunt Paws I said hi.
I sure will. She might be watching on YouTube right now, so you can say hi.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Oh my goodness. That was like absolutely amazing. Let me kind of dab my eyes a little bit, and I just knew Dominic is such a brave and strong young man, and to watch this journey, it's just a reminder that I remember we had gotten together as a family Christmas Eve, and they didn't know yet. He just still wasn't feeling well, and she had mentioned, just more tests and nothing's coming back, showing anything. And the fact that as a mom, she knew something's not right. Keep pushing, keep fighting for the answer. If you're not happy with what the doctors are telling you, and in your gut something is still not right, keep pushing, because had she not done that, it could be very different. So I love the fact that they were here to be able to share with us today. So as you guys are there, I want to share, thank you, Julie. Thank you, Tish. We've got Teresa was on here. It looks like Yada might have been on here. So thank you guys. As you're tuning in, please let us know where you're tuning in from. Please share this out. We are a couple hours in. This is still segment 1. And we will be breaking these into 4 segments. So that way everybody knows where we're at. So once we get done with segment 1, we are going to log off, and then we will start the next segment, because Facebook boots you off after so many hours. But what I'm going to do, because it looks like we have some time, I'm waiting for our next guest to come on now. We're live, so whether something popped up and they're not able to make it, we do still have some time. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is play our song Everybody get up, dance, stretch, grab a snack, go to the bathroom, do whatever you need to do, myself included. But we're gonna dance for a little bit, and then when we come back, I will just see what else we talk about from there. So here we go. All right. I hope you got up and got moving. That was just absolutely amazing. Like, honestly, it really, really was. And I just felt it in my heart to hear what Nami had to say, because I just knew that his view on this journey and his faith and all of that, and even Dylan is my godson. We need to hear from young men on faith and how God plays a role in their lives. And so that just really meant a lot to me. So we are going to be moving into our next guest, but we are going to give it just a few minutes. I actually asked him if he could come on a little bit early, because our middle guest, I think, just must have had something come up. It happens. We're in real life. So let's talk a little bit about hope from my perspective. While we're waiting, I look at hope as help one person every day. And I've heard people say, hold on, pain ends. And it's just however you need to look at it. Hope is just one of those things that we all need in our lives to simply keep on going because it's not easy. We're met with more trials and difficulties than we'd like to admit sometimes. And to me, to know that we are here for our 5th annual 24-hour live streamathon. And let me tell you, 5 years ago, I wasn't almost 52. It might be harder for me to pull off 24 hours, but we're doing it. But we are here because there was an opportunity in my life that could have stayed really dark year after year after year. And so if you are tuning in and you might not know that little bit of my story, and I'm not going to go into it too deep because we are here for a celebration, but the reality is that we wouldn't be here if I hadn't become a widow on Christmas Eve of 2018. And so when you're faced with turning the machines off and watching your husband take his last breath, and then you go home on Christmas Eve day and you're still a mom of 2 sons and there's like no Christmas in sight, no food in the refrigerator, no Christmas music, no holiday treats, no gifts under the tree, like just no Christmas in sight. That was probably one of the worst times in my life, and I will never forget it. Being, grieving loss and having that responsibility of shutting machines off, that was huge on one level. But then feeling like a failure of a mom because it's Christmas time and there's no joy. There was no laughter. There was just nothing but numbness and cold and quiet. And my sons had to absorb that as well. So it was a really, really dark time in my life. And one kind gesture, one of my friends messaged my sister at the time and said, "Is there anything I can do?" And all my sister said was, "We don't have any food and it's Christmas Eve. If you could just bring a sandwich or something." And she went to Cracker Barrel and got a whole like hot Christmas meal, turkey, mashed potatoes, all the sides. And I will just never forget that gift. And so knowing those little things that mean they make such a big difference in your life is why we're here. If we can share our stories of hope, if we can share, those messages that help you just keep going and know that it will get better, then it will have made all of that experience that I went through worth it. And that's why we're here. So I'm honored to bring on our next guest. Like I said, I messaged him and said, "Hey, can you come on here just a few minutes early? Because I don't think people need to hear me talk like for a whole nother half hour." And so Mr. Jamal Cottrell, we have been in contact with each other for a couple years and then actually just really connected this past year. And let me tell you, the work that he is doing in this world for men's mental health, bringing tough subjects to the surface. We just started a series on his show, Silent No More. It's called the Narcissist Series, and we bring tough topics to the screen. Like, I am honored to bring him on, and so let's do that right now. Hello, Mister. Thank you for jumping in and showing up.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It's kind of raining out here in Texas. Weather's kind of nasty, but it's good.
That's good. So tell people, you said Texas. What part of Texas are you joining us from?
Joining from San Antonio.
San Antonio. Let's go. So this is your first Christmas in July. So you're like, what the heck is this? What are you doing? Right? And we stay on for 24 hours. But this is purely a time for you to have an opportunity to take something difficult that you've been through and give somebody hope. Somebody that is tuning in, and I know you talk a lot on men's mental health, so we'll dive into some subjects. But I also first want to say thank you for your service because you were in the military, and I want to make sure to honor that too. Will you tell people what branch you served in?
I retired from the Air Force in 2018. Did 20 years.
Okay, so I always just thank you for your service. So, where do we want to dive in?
I have no idea. I'm new to this, so let's just get it in. Let's do it.
Okay, so then I'm going to first let's bring up your show, Silent No More, that you really want to bring a focus around men's mental health. Can you explain why?
Yeah, 2025 was a rough year for me, ending it out, and I found myself at some difficult times, and I didn't have anybody to talk to. You know, one of those things that people always say, check on your strong friends. But it's cliche, but people really never do it. So, I find myself always looking out for people and trying to provide, some type of advice or guidance. And then when I was in a situation when I needed it, I didn't have anybody. So I thought about it, kind of reflected on it and was like, well, if I'm going through this and I like to help people out all the time, what is people similar to my situation? What are they probably going through? And then what are people going through out there that probably just don't have anybody to talk to, period. And so that just kind of led me on that journey.
So as you started that journey, did it help you in being there for others, or did you actually find someone that you could go to?
Actually, I didn't find anyone. Coincidentally enough, talking about yesterday, I did a show about silence. So just in reflecting and just kind of figuring it out, I started to go through the processes of how I actually coach people and kind of just, follow my own ideas, suggestions, and methodology. So I kind of coached myself and gave myself a checklist and, kind of just went through it and just started executing and moving forward.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Like I understand that from a different angle. Like for me, it is business, and so I kind of just put myself through my own framework to build my thing. So it's like you kind of did the same. Um, with your show, are you looking to be able to just bring these topics up and into the open in hopes that somebody will hear it and gain some, some wisdom or knowledge or guidance that they need, or are you actually looking to start coaching and helping people through it?
I think both things can be true. The first one is helping people. And I think by helping people and kind of walking through those things, one, it will give some exposure to myself, obviously, as far as for, that I may actually have some talents and be kind of good at what I'm doing. And then also just displaying to people who have a story to tell and being vulnerable, because we talk about being vulnerable, but we're just in a day and age now where everything is kind of put on display for everyone. So, instead of seeing, it's a lot of things out there, love at first sight, 51st dates, blind, whatever. So why not add something with a little bit of positivity and something that people can benefit from?
I love that. And all those shows you mentioned, that's like my total drama when I want to just like shut my brain off. There's one out that I caught like, I don't know, maybe last year called The Ultimatum. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Oh my gosh. Side note, but it's where the couple's been together for like years. And so one of them, it's either the man or the woman, one of them is like giving an ultimatum that if once you get through this, you're either marrying me or we're like parting ways. We're done. But they get to pick like one of the other partners and like pretend they're married for like a time to see if they really want their original person or not. And I'm like with my popcorn thinking this is sick. Like this is sick, but I'm watching it anyway. So it's
Right.
yeah. But no, in like real life, coming from the men's mental health, I'm the mom of two sons, and I know that you were just on a show not too long ago talking about raising sons as a single mom. But so having two sons, this topic is so important, especially for our young teens and young male adults coming up. Like, do you find that you work or speak more on topics that are for older men, like 40s, 50s, or that could apply to younger men just getting started out, like in their journey?
Hey, great question. I think the topics apply to everyone, but I think the problem is some of the people sharing stories aren't necessarily as open-minded, that there may be some younger folks that may be watching. Uh, like you said, we kind of talked about the other day about the topic "man up," and that's something that our generation kind of talks about. But the terminology has changed. And then we need to start opening up to different topics. Such as no contact, which is something that these younger generations are doing, just completely disregarding and not talking to people at all. So I think it's all applicable, but we just need to make sure that we stay open to some of the current topics as well.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great. So where, from the male perspective, like, how do you even get started? Like, if men know they need to talk about things, and we're trying to make it okay that, gosh, men have feelings too. What? Like, how do you even get started when it's almost like so programmed that there's, that ego and that I'm the leader and I got it all figured out and I got to do it myself? Like, how do you even start cracking through some of those programmed ways of thinking?
I think it's just having a hard conversation, because a lot of people may have that way of thinking, but they aren't necessarily that successful in that mindset. Um, they may feel that way, but look at, if they do some reflecting and just some self-evaluating, that mindset, that mentality might be the reason why they, are in a low, or not in a high place of where they want to be in life. So
Yeah.
just doing some self-evaluating and just having that hard conversation. I think so many times as people just, again, in the age where people are so quick to text versus call, or hit decline because they really don't feel like talking to somebody. it's
I'm
having,
guilty.
it's having
Don't look at me.
that, it's having that hard conversation, because it's so easy to just, turn off the outside world now. I mean, because you can look at your phone and you can literally find something that interests you. Like you just said, we talked about the show, get some popcorn and just kind of watching somebody else's self-destruction on television. And then we may feel a little bit better about ourselves, whatever it is. And that's the ego, and that, also. So just having the hard conversation.
Yeah, and I love that you're bringing that to the surface, because one of the things that I know, both of my sons struggle with is developing true friendships, like just guy friends, true friends. And it's sad. Like, it's sad to me to see this, but the struggle is real, because there's a lot of surface stuff, and then I don't know if it is their age, but my sons go deep. Like, we've always had the deep conversations, and it's just really hard for them to actually build and establish good friendships. Do you have any advice around that, or suggestions?
No, because I think it's hard for everybody nowadays. But I think, not necessarily worried about the friendship, but again, just making sure that you're the best version of yourself, and then just continue to be honest and don't compromise. You know, Everybody isn't for everyone. I mean, sometimes you have to change your environment as well. Because one of the things about being in the military was we changed every 2, 3, or 4 years. We relocate and have to start all over again. And one of the things that you realize is sometimes you just outgrow people, you outgrow scenarios and situations. And some people that don't have the opportunity to relocate as often, or even the mindset to want to relocate, sometimes you outgrow your environment, and that might be a contributing factor as well. So maybe something as simple as traveling more. And that's why, the younger generation, I think they have an advantage because they're online, they're meeting people all over the world, and just having general conversations, even though it's hidden behind an avatar, but but they're still, able to be the best versions of themselves, and they're able to find people to connect with. Now, what happens after that is completely, it's another conversation, but
Yeah.
just again, that mindset of being able to leave that area and socialize and integrate with other folks.
Yeah, I mean, us back in the day, we had a map, and that was it.
Right.
We're like, how much farther we got? You're like, this much
Right.
farther, right?
Yeah.
So in speaking of like hope on this streamathon, how would you describe hope? Like, what does hope mean to you?
Um, I guess it needs to have a plan, because I don't really hope for anything.
Okay.
I just kind of, get a board, a vision board, put it down on that board, and I don't hope it works out. I make sure I have a plan and ensure it works. Because I don't, some people will say karma, some people say, well, it wasn't meant to be. And, well, if you didn't put the work in, then it's not that it wasn't meant to be, you just didn't put the effort into it. So those are the results that you're getting. So yeah, for me, hope, if I get a good idea, I hope I make it to the board in time before I forget.
So that's why you drop little voice notes out of nowhere. So you don't, so that I have to take it and you
That's
don't
exactly
forget.
it. I was like, hey, I got a device. Let me figure out how to use it. Oh, voice notes. So I think it's something I say it and I send it to you or me or whoever to remind me or you to.
You're
to
like,
bring it up
that's
again.
my hope right there.
Yeah, I hope I remember it. But
Yeah, there you go. I hope I remember. Oh no, I love that. So yeah, tell people a little bit about like the work that you do. You are in leadership, like so business is like leadership, but then your show is to bring these tough topics to the surface. Do they intertwine in any way, or do you have them as like two separate lines of work?
No, they definitely intertwine. Just a perfect example. I sent you that one location idea that I had a couple of days ago, and I was doing a workshop, and I was speaking to one of the individuals there, and it was just like a aha moment. Hey, you know what? As a matter of fact, how about we use this venue, so it opens doors and it kind of leads into it. Because a lot of folks in management or leadership, one of the things we kind of thrive off of is a peer advisory group. So that way, you have a group of people around that can kick ideas around and get some coaching and things going on in that nature. But, you bring up those different ideas, and that's how you kind of come up with steel sharpens steel. So just having those kind of conversations. And then it just leads into the next thing. Hey, you know what? I didn't have anybody to speak to. I'm in a position of authority. I have people that work for me. I have to go home. I have a spouse, kids. How do I handle these situations? So it just genuinely opens up doors, to do other things. And then what better place to talk about it is within somebody's organization. So you host the show there, and then you can have a, no kidding, real live conversation right there, just hitting record. Or sometimes not even hitting record, just kind of having that place of, congregational church, as some people call it.
Well, and I love that because that's the whole point. Like when I envision people starting shows, like that was the whole point of the connection that it leads to so many of the things. So I actually love to see all of the things that you're doing with this already in just a short amount of time. So do you feel, coming from the military, and that you focus on leadership and things like that, do you feel that leadership part, is that like a natural gift that people possess, or do you feel like it's just a learned skill?
I think it's a learned skill, because a lot of people like to say that they're leaders, or a lot of people like to call themselves leaders, but it's a lot of attributes and things that go within it. One of the biggest things that people miss, in order to be a great leader, you got to be a good follower. People just don't like following people unless it's on social media.
and like nobody even pays attention, like,
right. Hitting those likes and thank you, buddies. But yeah, as far as for being able to listen to what people are saying, understand what they're saying, to be able to process it, to be able to take somebody's thoughts and ideas, and then help it develop, nurture into fruition. It's just it's a process behind it. So people may have natural leadership qualities, but to be an effective leader is definitely not something that comes naturally.
I love that. I do love that. I want to bring up real quick because it kind of came up on an earlier conversation. I think I was talking with Daryl, and I just love it. I had never heard this until you mentioned it. I think you were talking to Tish at one time. But speaking of those skills, when we look at those of us that were latchkey kids, I mean, I love this that we were latchkey kids because there's a whole generation that we could play our boohoo violin. That like I was always by myself because I was always by myself, but I always looked at it as like I was always by myself. Like, but now I'm like, oh no, I was developing into like powerhouse. But kind of share your take on what skills we were developing as those latchkey kids. I mean, I just love this viewpoint, and I think more people need to hear it.
No, yeah, definitely. Whether you were by yourself or you had siblings or you walked home with a group of people, just from networking to logistics, just think about it. I mean, just being able to come home, make it home, you know, get inside the facility, and then whatever was your schedule of events, for that evening. I mean, you essentially follow the checklist to make sure that,
I'm envisioning that bunch of kids in the kitchen, and you're like sitting at the table, and you're like, our schedule of events for the evening.
Right. Some people had the magnets with the letters on the refrigerator. Some people had a to-do list. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to call it. You had those items, and then you use those moments, throughout life. Whether you realize it or not, you thought about it, you reflected. Hey, well, I was in a scenario or similar situation. What did I do? Presented this. So I mean, those are all teachable moments that you bring throughout life. So, and again, if you had siblings, you had to make sure that they were fed. You had to make sure that there was some type of discipline, some type of structure. Not saying it was the best, but there was some. You know what I mean? So it's just again, those logistics and all those housekeeping tools that you learned throughout.
I mean, I do. I think that that's just like really a cool way to look at it because after hearing that, and I mean, I don't know why it just blows my mind. Like I've never heard that in my life. I'm sure there's a lot of things I've not even ever heard in my life, but that one was just like, whoa, profound. But it makes you look at a lot of other things and look for the gift in it or the lesson in it or the skill in it that you otherwise just wouldn't.
Right. And it's all about perspective. I mean, you can look at it as woe is me or the glass is half full, or you can look at, what was the lesson? You know what I mean? Because everything's a teachable moment. Again, it's just about perspective. So if you're looking at things, for the best in it, or, how can you get better at something? So that goes back to those leadership qualities. So if you're not looking at those type of things, and again, you can call yourself a leader, but you might not necessarily be an effective leader. So
yeah. Well, or you might turn around and realize like there ain't nobody there that you're leading. And be like, where'd everybody go?
Right. Right.
That's kind of like those people that say like, no, I'm a great communicator, and it's like, no, you just like to hear yourself talk. Like,
right.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for you in the building of your show and in the work that you're doing on your board of hope, your goals and your plans, like what is something that is happening in your world right now that you're really excited about that's like coming up or that we might be able to like look forward to? Anything going on?
Just mainly the collaborations with the show. A lot of things happen around town. A lot. What I have to I have to get used to is people will say they want to do something and they may not move at the speed that you're moving at. And so because you have the idea, the passion, and you want to go about executing these things, it's about the tempo. So those are some issues that I'm kind of coming across, but definitely networking in the community and doing some more workshops in the community. A lot of people are open to providing something for the men and the opportunity to give them space. One of the big things I just tend to harp on is because there's a lot of groups out there, and what I'm doing different it's for everyone, but I don't want to say it's like, hey, it's spiritually backed or come only if you got faith or something like that. It's not like that. It's just more or less if you need to come and talk about kicking a hole in the wall or whatever it is that you need to do, no judgment. Just here's a safe space for you to come and just get it off your chest, because a lot of people, they fear being judged when they say certain things, and they don't necessarily feel comfortable. So the objective is for you to feel comfortable. Whatever you need to come and have a conversation about, let's do it. We can talk about soft skills. A lot of people out here are hurting for jobs. A lot of people out here don't are underqualified and underpaid for some of the jobs that are out here because they're being told if you're a man, you're only doing labor and stuff like that. So geographically, where I am, teaching these people about soft skills and those other things that can help them in the workplace is something that's needed out here because it's definitely not hasn't been done. And then a lot of people can't afford it either. So some of the trade-off is by working with some of these facilities. Then it helps them with marketing, so that way we're helping each other, the business to business, helping them by marketing. They're helping me by providing a venue, and then, like I mentioned earlier, we can incorporate some of the staff in the training, and then also the people from the local economy to come in and be able to, be heard and have a voice, and then be able to be given some good information, some solid information, and a plan when they leave, versus just, giving them, a couple of words of encouragement and saying, "Hey, I hope you do better." You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, I mean that is truly amazing, and it makes me think like, they're like locally, and to have these places where people can then meet other people and know that like deeper connections are being made. One of the hard things that for me was when I started like my business, it was from my home. It was shortly after I became widowed, but then we did go into the pandemic shutdown. So I built like virtually, and we've talked about narcissistic relationships, and so I always felt safer behind the camera instead of in person. And so for 2 years to have just built virtually and felt very safe in my little bubble, going out into the real world and doing this work in person was really, really hard for me. In fact, I remember at one of my first networking meetings, I had to stand up and introduce myself and talk about, what I was doing. And I started crying, like for no reason, but I felt so scared. I don't even know. And I mean, that's a thing. We can unpack that in another show.
Yeah.
But I started crying. And so when I think of like the environments that you're creating there locally, and that you're going to continue to, it's a win-win. It's a win-win for the venue. It's a win-win for the people and the community. And I just think that that's really very cool that you're taking that opportunity and creating something like there locally and in person where people can find you, because they'll establish relationships amongst each other the more you do that.
Right, and that's the plan. I mean, you have so many, networking groups and clubs out here between the Rotaries, the Chambers of Commerce, and BNI and those things. But this just provides that opportunity where there's no stress added worrying about those type of things. Just come in, learn something. We can talk about some different things, some views, and then just kind of, keep it constructive and then keep it moving. And then people there, they don't feel obligated, to have to buy into something, other than just food and just some conversation with you.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a real welcoming. Come as you are, just come as you are, and that I think is something that is missing. You go to, you need the business kind of things, but let's be honest, you come in with this like, certain front and shaking everybody's hand, and it's all about the titles and what you do. But we need to come as you are. That you can show up and be like, I'm a hot mess today,
right,
but I'm still here, and that's okay. So
right, and that's what it's about. I mean, because a lot of people are going through real things, and and a lot of people are not necessarily as well versed as separating the two, professional and business and personal. But this way, you take the guesswork out of it. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. So if somebody's tuning in, I know Dawn is going to be on later. She's in San Antonio. She just opened up her spot out there. But if somebody's tuning in and they're out and around the area, like how can people get a hold of you if they're like, man, this is really cool what you're doing. I didn't know about it. Like, tell me more. Like, how do people reach out to you?
Yeah, you can, if you're looking behind me, you can Google Limitless Leads Coaching, or you can look me up on social media. I'm on all the platforms, and Nextdoor app as well. That way, really trying to stay local. And, that seems to be what's the local people are really thriving behind, is that Nextdoor app. And then, they can reach out to me as well to my website, realorlive.org. and contact me 210-724-4474.
Yep, I see that behind you too. Yeah. So any last little message that you want to leave? Because I'm on here for the 24 hours. You're actually the end of segment 1. We've been on here since 10 a.m. So we're gonna close this segment out, take a little pause intermission, and then come back on for segment number 2. That'll take me till 10 p.m. tonight. But is there anything that you want to leave that is encouraging for somebody that might be feeling really low right now?
Yeah, I'll just say again, like I always say, is about giving yourself grace, but start journaling, and that way you can get an understanding of when these moments happen and when you feel low, and then you can get a better pulse on why you're starting to feel low. And then that way, when you start to speak to, someone, whether it be, a coach or a competent medical authority or whoever, you at least you don't have to try to remember what you were going through or remember why you were feeling certain ways. You can go back to your notes and just say, on Tuesday, this happened and then it made me feel this way. I wasn't too, thrilled with what was going on. But that way you have some receipts, as people say nowadays. You got the receipts. So yeah, journal, document and self-evaluate, because if you don't self-evaluate, you just won't have any clue, any idea what you have going on with yourself.
I get that. If somebody is watching and they're like, man, I've never journaled before, like what am I writing down? Is it like a dear diary today, such and such, or is it just bullet point notes? Like if somebody were like, how do you journal? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so it's whatever you feel like doing. Do what works for you, and then once you get a good battle rhythm going on of documenting, putting those thoughts on a piece of paper, then you can tailor it to be more structured or more streamlined to something that may actually work towards a goal. But just starting out, just put that pen on a piece of paper. Just put those ideas down. Or like I do, grab that phone and just start talking to the voice notes.
You're like, there's Jamal again. What do I need to do now?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So I want to thank you for sharing, and thank you for pulling in and hopping on a little bit early, because that helped me a little bit too. But yeah, people reach out to Jamal, and thank you for showing up today. And we're gonna wrap this segment up and then take about a 15-minute intermission and come back for part 2. So
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks.
All right.
All righty, folks. So there you go. If you can believe it, we are wrapping up our segment 1, which segment 1 was Hope Begins Here. And we got to hear from David Kametsky, Jose Escobar, Alethea Felton. We got to hear from Daryl Snow, Kathy Calvetti, Giselle Quintanilla. We got to hear from Julie Laughlin-Hares, Raquel Soto, Teresa Julerat, Dominic and Christina Durnell, and Jamal Cottrell. Like, oh my gosh, what an incredible way to kick off the 24-hour streamathon. So what's going to happen is we are going to be ending this stream because Facebook boots us off after so many hours. So we're going to be ending this stream, and in 15 minutes at 4 p.m., we're going to be coming on and starting all over again. So be sure to go to Prosperity TV Network on YouTube. You can find Prosperity TV Network on Facebook, or stay on Elena Rodriguez on Facebook, and you will see segment 2 coming up next. And segment 2 is, where are my notes? Hope Comes Alive. And we will be kicking off with Coach Michael Faber. So we will see you in just a moment. Thank you so much.
they